welcome to the D3D4 Football Podcast with me, your host, James Richards. It's Sunday, the 12th of December 2021. Welcome back to another D3D4 Football Podcast. On the show this week, we have a manager move in League One. We have an amazing unbeaten record continuing. We have a pair of Lincoln goals to talk about. That's right. Lincoln score goals. I forgot they did that. We have a 10-goal thriller in the fourth tier and a Carlisle away win. Yes, I forgot they did that too.
And a partridge in a pear tree.
And a partridge in a pear tree. That was my co-host Chris Stringer, who will be joining us for the last time this calendar year, but at least for
until March, I think.
Yeah, exactly. And you'll be off basically trying to persuade Penguins to join the OAFC supporters group. I would imagine.
Yeah, I've got a few scarves to take down, and.
Are you going to plant an Oldham flag at the South Pole? It must be probably.
Well, I'm not going quite that far south, but I've got a couple of Oldham shirts packed because if nothing else, they're quite good walking clothes. But it'd be rude not to take a couple of Oldham shirts and my D3D4 jumper.
Absolutely. And we're also joined by David Jenkins, Gillingham fan, a club five defeats in a row, 8 without a win. But plenty of things to be positive about, David, eh?
Yay! No, to be fair, I mean, things are not going great right now, are they? Arguably, I'd say probably the worst form in the league. I'm sure you've got some stats on that, James, but not going great right now. Behind the scenes, not going great. On the pitch, not going great. In the physio room, not going great. It's just great.
Well, yeah, but, you've got a manager that galvanises the fan base, don't you? So, couldn't ask for much more than that.
He's famously a unifier.
Yeah, that's what we call it.
And we also have Ed Walker, who is finally with us. I was worried that he wasn't going to turn up, but he has finally graced us with his presence. And Ed, how are you doing this week?
To say it. I don't consider that myself, but thank you.
How are you doing this week, mate?
Yeah, all right. Not the best in terms of football results, as we find for a lot of us down the low leagues at the moment. But yeah, I'm okay.
Well, speak for yourself. But I enjoyed my weekend. Anyway, there is a lot to get through. Just before we start, it's great to announce that we are, of course, partners with The Big Step, who do great work in highlighting the issues with this gambling advertising we see in football. There was a stat somewhere, eye-watering stat put out by the Price of Football, which was how much gambling companies spend on advertising. I can't remember. If I can find it, I'll let you know what it was. But it's a number that it takes me a while to get my head around because it's one of those more noughts than I think is.
I think we can imagine how big that number is, to be honest.
Oh, it's ridiculous. And of course, how much of that is in football? I think it was £1.5 billion.
Less than I thought it'd be.
Well, I mean, it depends in England. Maybe it's more than that because it's 500 million with another one in front of it. So
it's still a ridiculous amount of money.
Oh, aye.
Yeah, it's. I can't even I don't know how to say that number, but it's one.
It's 1.5 billion, isn't it? That.
Yeah. I mean, because is 100 million in English money a billion?
Yes.
Or is that in American money? I don't know.
No, that's 1,000 million. It's 1,000 million in English money. It's a million in American money.
Right. Yeah. So well, it's ridiculous. Whatever it is, it's ridiculous.
It's ridiculous.
It's basically they spend more on advertising their products than the 72 EFL clubs generate in revenue combined. So there you go.
That's why scary statistic.
It's scary, and that's why I'm proud to partner The Big Step in challenging this because you know what? Nothing against gambling. It's adult pastime, fine, but they don't need to inundate football with their adverts, and it's everywhere, and you can't get away from it. So I'm proud to be partnering up with them, and of course our patrons. Thank you so much for your help, as always, to allow us to bring you this podcast. Hugely appreciate your support, and you can be a patron for as little as £1 a month, which is an absolute bargain, even if I do say so myself. But anyway, we've got so much to talk about this week. It's ridiculous. And we're going to start, as always, in League One.
League One.
Now, League One, I have got my team's game down to talk about first, but I think given the changes at Plymouth, we're going to have to switch that around. So I do a little switcheroo in my notes here and start with Sunderland's 2-1 win against Plymouth. Probably Sunderland's best performance of the season, in all fairness. But let's start with Argyle. Ryan Lowe gone. Stephen Schumacher takes over, which is a plus. But let's talk Ryan Lowe. I mean, taking over at Preston, I get the feeling this is also about a personal move back to the north of England, where we know he probably has got roots he wants to be. Obviously, it's a step up as well. Preston are a championship club. They have been a championship club for a long time, and they're a club that, probably if you want to go into somewhere stable in that division, that's the one club you probably choose. Firstly, Ed, you're a big Argyle fan. You're a big Ryan Lowe fan. What are your thoughts on this move for him?
Like you say, I can't be too surprised to move. I'm a bit surprised it's just him going. I was expecting the whole backroom staff to move, because you normally see the manager take his staff with him. So I'm quite keen to see what Schumacher does back at Plymouth. I think that's really good to Argyle, that they've still essentially got the right-hand man still at the club and the team around him. And Ryan Lowe's essentially going there himself, which would be interesting to see now if he does do quite the same thing with the different backroom staff, because I think there's still a lot of people who think the manager's purely the one who works the magic at the club, and then you realise when he moves on elsewhere, sometimes it's the team around him that gets that working as well. So I'm not too worried about Argyle losing Ryan Lowe as much, because I think you can tell with Schumacher already, he's delighted to get this job, and they have a great affinity towards him already.
Couldn't get a win yesterday.
No, but they're playing a good Sunderland side who can be very good, and they got a really fast start as well.
Yeah, great start from Sunderland. Again, Broadhead, not a player you particularly sung his praises, but Ed, he scored another really nice goal today.
Well, I think he's going to find some form. Yeah, it seems to be really working out for his loan. It's really good to see.
Pritchard getting a lot of credit as well from Sunderland fans. He's a class player. Come on, let's be honest. He's played at the top level. A very tricky player, good on the ball, and I think Sunderland have that. And there was a guy on Twitter as well who talked about this clamouring for Johnson to be sacked just a couple of weeks ago. He said, look, this is getting stupid now. We just need to have patience. There'll be tough patches. 100% agree with him. 100% agree. I get tired. I can understand, you have to get rid of a manager when things have got untenable. But Sunderland, despite they went on that little tricky spell, they were far, far from that level where you'd be panicking. A great performance against
they were always in the playoff spots. I mean, thereabouts. I think the lowest they dropped was 7th, was it?
Yeah, they were always within 3 points, I think, of the top 3. And it's a guy called Matty Murphy, not the Matty Murphy, for Oxford fans wondering. But there is just no patience anymore in football. We have to get away from wanting a new manager in after a few bad results. I'm a Sunderland fan, and it was the same a few weeks back for us. I think we were one win from going top, and there was a clamour to sack Lee Johnson. It's madness. I completely agree with that. Absolutely agree with that. I know it's difficult when you're in a bad run of form. But, Sunderland, the real deal, Dan Neil getting a lovely goal from a really well-worked set piece yesterday. And they're right in the mix again, and that's important. If Sunderland want to stay very close, you've got to remember Wigan and Rotherham are going something. I mean, they're great guns. They're going. They have brilliant form. So, in a season where you wouldn't have two runaway teams, or not, they're not running away with it, but what I mean is two teams in such good form and playing so well, Sunderland would be probably top at this stage of the season. But you've got a great sort of competitiveness about the league. I mean, look at Plymouth now. They've been on a poor run. I think it's 5 without a win for them, 4 defeats in that time in the league, and they're still in the top 6 at the moment. But it just shows how difficult it is. You have a slip up. They've gone from top to sort of clinging onto their playoff spot. Sheffield Wednesday right on their heels now. It's just difficult. You've got Rotherham, Wigan, Wycombe, and Oxford in great form. All in giving Sunderland a real good run for their money. It's a tough division. So I think people should remain calm. Chris, Plymouth, that run, it is a bit worrying, but let's be honest, the expectations of this team must be still considered despite the fact that they did start so well. You don't want to go on a long run without winning, and 5 is probably where you'd hope they stop it. But they've got Charlton next, which is no easy game at all.
Yeah, it's not a nice one to go on to when you're on a losing run, but I don't think any of us saw them in the top 6 at the start of the season, and so to be 6th now, I think can generally be seen as a success up to this point.
Yeah, massively, I think.
It'd be nice if they can carry it on, but actually finishing anywhere in the top half of this league would still, given the expectations at the start of the season, be a success for Plymouth. I must admit I've not followed too closely what's been going on with Ryan Lowe, but as I understand it, there's been a little bit of some disgruntledness at the club. So perhaps actually a change of manager isn't the worst thing if they want to turn this around. You
don't want a manager there who doesn't want to be there, and if he's looking elsewhere, fine. Whatever. Stephen Schumacher's got a great opportunity here. They're such a well-run club, so I've spoken to many managers over the years, and rather than choosing the club, you choose your chairman, and in this case, he's done a very good job of that. So we'll keep a close eye on it. But let's move on, because MK Dons lost to Oxford United 2-1 yesterday in a cracking game of football. To be fair, MK Dons were far the better team in the first half. They made us work extremely hard. Took an early lead, though it was a poor goal defensively to concede, but Boateng tucks it away, and I was worried at that stage that we were going to be really struggling. But Oxford came out and I'm not being biased here, but we did give them a bit of a footballing lesson in that second half, because MK Dons in the first half, they were playing progressive football, they were on the front foot, they were making forward passes. Second half, we pressed them relentlessly. We made them question themselves. You could see the confidence and the thought processes when they were on the ball starting to wane a little bit. And they started playing a lot of backwards, sideways passes. We got an equaliser, which I think Alex Fisher will be very disappointed with. The goalkeeper, it was a flick on at the sort of the near post, and he allowed it. I think he should have done better with it, is what I'm saying. I mean, it was a poor goal from MK Dons' perspective to concede. And then the winner was even worse. The goalkeeper gets caught on the ball. The defenders, Andrew Fisher. I think I called him Alex Fisher. Getting my Fishers mixed up here. But his manager defended him afterwards. If you've seen the goal, he miskicks it. It comes to Sykes, and Sykes just buries it really well. Sykes I was swearing at my radio when Sykes was clean through on goal, and for some reason he tries to pick up Matt Taylor with a sideways pass, and it just is cleared by a defender. He should have scored just before this, but a really good second half performance from Oxford United. The danger with MK Dons is when they're not confident, or when they're being pressed by a good team, they do tend to make these mistakes. And Liam Manning was very defending of his goalkeeper after the game, and that's really good of him to do that. A lot of managers, as we've spoken about on this pod, throw their players under the bus, and I hate that. I really do. But he defended his goalkeeper admirably. Herbie Kane, superb. Cameron Brannigan had a really good game. We talk about Sykes. He was actually really quiet for a lot of this game. A lot of Oxford's play was coming down the left-hand side with Seddon and Holland. Sykes was quite quiet. Really couldn't get into the game, but he's got that ability this season to score. I think it's 7 in all competitions for him now. So fantastic. And actually, big credit out to Thornley, who was sent off right at the end, but he was throwing up on the pitch in this game. Jordan Thornley went down on all fours and just was violently sick. So worrying stuff. Really worrying.
You know what, James? Your little review of Oxford there has just proved to me that you are the dark horses of League One. You have to be.
Get out of it.
You get so much praise towards
Moving
Oxford,
on.
but you don't hear it from other outlets. We've got to take them as the dark horses. People don't take them seriously enough. We've got to take them more seriously.
How can we be a dark horse? We wear yellow. We're not going to be a dark horse. That's ridiculous.
Okay, you can be a bright horse then.
Listen, you're not considered the club that the others are up there, but you're competing with them, and you're still probably going to might end up in another player campaign again. You've got to take us dark horses. I'm giving them that tag if you won't. I'm going to do it.
I think we do it. Black.
Yeah. No, it's white, actually.
Oh, is it white now?
We do.
I still think we could use dark horse to describe their season.
We were wearing black yesterday, I will admit that.
Yeah. Okay, there we go. Dark Horse of League One, Oxford United, everybody.
Delete a podcast while recording. I'm just. Yeah. Well, cheers, Ed. You just made my
pleasure's all
Christmas
mine.
ruined. Christmas is ruined. That's it.
Good.
Throwing my pen down. I'm not having it.
Well, I'll see you at the bottom of League One by the end of the season now, Jay.
Yeah. We'll have a party down there, all three of us.
Speaking of bottom of League One, Crewe lost to Sheffield Wednesday 2-0. Sheffield Wednesday, like, I'll be honest, they're fans. I don't follow a huge amount of them because my timeline would be just full of negativity, and that's not being unfair. There are some really good ones.
For that.
There are some really good ones out there, but there is a lot of negativity. And when I had a look into the underlying numbers, Sheffield Wednesday and stuff, this is their first season down at this level. It's not easy. You consider the challenges Darren Moore faced in the summer, where he basically had to get a lot of recruitment in quite late. It was always going to be difficult after a couple of seasons that they've had.
I thought they might go down at one point in the summer.
They're basically on. They're going to be in the playoffs at some point. You can see that in the way they play.
Yeah,
Barry Bannon.
They picked up, definitely.
Yeah, he's playing really well. They've got players back from injury and stuff. So not, they went to Crewe. Let's not be unfair to Crewe, but you'd expect them to beat them, given Crewe's season that they've had as a whole. Though their few performances of late have been a lot better. But Sheffield Wednesday go there. They've got much better players than Crewe. They've got people like. I mean, Barry Bannon is a phenomenal player to have at this level. I think he's created more chances than any other player in the division. He gave away was it a penalty he gave away yesterday in the game against Crewe? I'm pretty sure.
I think so, and then Porter missed it just before half-time.
That was a horrific, straight down the middle.
It was a bad miss.
I have to say, though,
terrible.
Bailey Peacock-Farrell's rebound save was very, very good. And he's had a couple of good games of late. I think he's had 7 clean sheets this season. But it's 1 defeat in 16 for Sheffield Wednesday. They've drawn 9 of those. They're 12 unbeaten. Now,
I was, like, in the earlier parts of the summer, I was genuinely worried that they might be facing back-to-back relegations, and to have actually turned it around over the summer, they're doing very well.
they're doing fine.
They are doing well. I think we were a bit concerned they're a little bit mediocre, but they have picked up, and they feel as strong as like a Portsmouth or maybe in a Wickham, or maybe even the Dark Horses Oxford, or maybe even Plymouth Argyle at the moment.
Yeah. Yeah, I think especially like the Dark Horses.
I think especially like Oxford.
How do I'm going to kick him off the call. This is getting out.
It would be the same if it was Burton, James. Come on, you'd be doing the same thing.
Yeah, it's outright. Yeah, but I'm the host. I'm allowed to do that.
Oh, he's pulling right.
One rule for one rule for another.
Yeah, well, come on.
I've heard that this time.
Yeah, come on. That's true. This country is run on those bases now, isn't it?
Yeah, actually, that's so true.
I think I'm going to go on strike for 7 minutes after those comments.
Anyway, yeah, Sheffield Wednesday, I like them, and in January, they're going to be able to bring in players. So they're doing really well. Darren Moore deserves some credit, and I think, the fans who there will be a section of the fans who expect them to walk this division. We see the rather tiresome comments about how great they are because of their away support. They're a big club. Of course, they're going to take a lot of fans away from home.
Leeds would have taken more.
Huh?
Leeds would have taken.
Oh, don't do that.
Anyway, so a lot of positives for Sheffield Wednesday, I think, so far. Fleetwood, Gillingham, big game at the bottom of this division. 2-1 to Fleetwood, 5 straight defeats for Gillingham, no wins in 8. Masters of their own downfall in this one. If you look at Jack Tucker's poor decision making when he plays the ball into Phillips and the player's right on top of him, and it's not good, not good at all. Paddy Lane, though, a player that really no one, I have to be honest, and I was looking through all the data this week, and I said, Paddy Lane, where did he come from? Where did Fleetwood get him from? He plucked out of non-league football, 7 assists, joint high in the division already this season. His crossing ability is insane. And he's only 20. Wonderful player to have. But Dave, they beat you yesterday in an important game down the bottom. It's looking so bleak for Gillingham, isn't it?
Yeah, no, it really is. To be honest with you, I think we were the makers of our own downfall yesterday. Like, just poor defending, poor positioning. Like, when you look at a Gillingham performance at the moment, you just see a very dejected group of players that are either, I'm not sure whether they're already resigning themselves to relegation or whether it's just simply the fact that in the back room we're telling them, sort of.
I can tell you they're not. I have, I've spoken to someone inside the club this week, and there's definitely no resignation to relegation at all. The players are, they need bodies, they need reinforcements essentially. You can't play a 46 game season with COVID, with injuries piling up, and expect to, and some of those injuries as well are your key players, and you can't expect to do well. At the moment, there's no Verdane Oliver, there's no Dempsey, Max Ermer wasn't playing either. Your goalkeeper was on, the goalkeeper who's been brilliant of late was on the bench. It's difficult. It's a very, very difficult situation.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, I'm just not sure where the recruitment comes from in January as well, though. It's all well and good saying get bodies in, but I don't see where the money comes from. I don't see which players would be looking to join our team and would see it as a viable switch. We've still got the embargo, so obviously all of it would be free loan deals. So I just don't see how, maybe this is me just being incredibly pessimistic, but I'm just not sure that any of the possible free signings we could get in the middle of the season are going to make enough of a difference to keep us out from going down. Obviously, right now it's still before Christmas. There's still a lot of the season to go. But I'm not.
You do need Dempsey and Oliver back, really.
Yeah,
sooner
I mean, unless we get those players back sooner rather than later and are able to keep them fit, I think that's the big thing that over the last 2 seasons has worked really well for us, that we've kind of had those key players. We've always had a small squad, but we've had those key players that haven't really particularly got injured. And actually, we lost a lot of quality in the summer on frees. Conor Ogilvie going to Portsmouth, then Jordan Graham moving up a level to Birmingham. When you lose those kind of players and don't replace that sort of input and replace them with players coming up from League Two or teams that have been relegated last year, you can't expect miracles, especially in a division as competitive as the one this season. So I guess we'll just have to see how it goes. But I don't remain overly confident.
No, I'm quite confident that Fleetwood might be able to. I mean, they've had some poor results, but I like their young players. Matete in midfield, Lane's playing really well. Morton is a player that can do good things. And a good performance from them yesterday to get an important 3 points. Talking about performances and manager impacts, or we should say interim manager impacts, Johnnie Jackson, Ed, 20 points from 27 since taking charge. I think that's in 9 games, something like that. Nigel Adkins had 9 points from 39 in 13 games prior to his dismissal. I mean, the impact that Jackson has had since switching to being the main man is insane. And yes, they rode their luck yesterday. Let's not dress it up too much. But again, if your luck's in, your luck's in. And Craig McGillivray made some great saves, a brace from Connor Washington to seal another important 3 points for the Addicts.
Yeah, just going on a standard. I can only think the reason they haven't hired him as manager yet is because they look at that defeat to Shrewsbury last month and think it's a blemish. I've got no other reason to think why they haven't done it yet.
Yeah.
I just don't get why it hasn't been announced yet.
Rubbish.
That's all.
Is it a mark you think that, we lost that doesn't reflect well on Shrewsbury?
He's not immortal, we can't hire him anymore. Just I don't know. What more does he have to do?
I don't
really
get
don't
it.
know.
You look at the way he's definitely made them a more forward-thinking team, though, hasn't he? Gilby, Lee, and Dobson, sort of that triangle in the midfield in front of a back three. Akinfenwa's done brilliantly, by the way, in recent weeks. Lecco coming in and being a much more effective player. Stockley being used as he should be used, which is, not just as a Hoykit target man, but someone who is a big presence when you need the ball to stick. But you've also got players who he can bring in and amongst the play in forward positions. And I think Johnnie Jackson will be massively pleased with the team's performance. Another clean sheet. And McGillivray's the kind of keeper that you can rely on to come up big sometimes when you need it. Cambridge, nothing wrong with that performance yesterday apart from the finishing. that's essentially the only thing they were lacking. They're a team that we were worried about a little bit from a couple of weeks ago when they had a sort of a dodgy run, I think it's fair to say, but they're bang at it. They're bang at it again. They look really difficult team to play against, and they'll be fine. It's weird. You look at a team like Cambridge, who I probably think I had finishing bottom, maybe, in my predictions, but I have no worries about them finishing the bottom four at the moment. Really good side. The way they play, really, really unlucky yesterday not to at least get a goal, let alone
It was a bit of a David comment that though, wasn't it? They had a really good performance and they only lost because they didn't score any goals.
And the other team did. Yeah.
That's me.
Yeah, essentially. Lincoln, talking of goals, managed multiple yesterday, or well, two. But I mean that's from recent weeks. That's a remarkable turnaround. And Teddy Bishop with both of them. The first one, absolute cracker. But I kind of jinxed them. Yeah, a little bit on
All you had to do was wait till full time. It's not hard.
Well, actually, I argue that the club jinxed themselves because what I put out, is that the winning goal? ? When he scores the. I said, and strangely, I answered it saying, to answer your question, no. And then Luton Town retweeted that for some reason.
What?
What? What?
Yeah, the Luton Town. I think they must have mistakenly pressed retweet. Why would Luton Town? If you look at their timeline, it's just like they're talking about in the middle of their matches. It comes towards their sort of stoppage time, and there's just my random tweet retweeted on their timeline.
I think they've deleted it now, but
I don't know. I don't know.
So
I haven't gone
weird.
back it was just weird because I had a lot of people talking about Luton. What are you doing? And I was thinking, yes, I would like to know why that's intrigued you so much. But anyway, yes, Lincoln City, a much better performance, and regardless that they couldn't hold on, let's not sit here and pretend that going to Cheltenham is ever easy. By the way, a team whose home form last season was, am I right in saying, Ed, probably like one of the best in the country?
Lincoln's.
Cheltenham's when they got promoted.
Oh, Cheltenham's was.
It was
there was a strong record at Warden Road, if I recall correctly. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if it was around the best in the country, but it was certainly strong.
Oh, it was certainly formidable. They weren't a team that lost many at home, and I think, to be fair, they've probably only lost 3 times there this season. It's it's a place that's still very, very difficult to go. And the teams that have taken the points from there, apart from Cambridge, which was an eye-opening result, that wasn't it? That 5-0 win. It's Rotherham and Wickham who've taken the full points from Warden Road this season. No other side has managed it. So to go there, Lincoln, and get a point, I think, on reflection, is good. Obviously, the way it happened, that's such poor defending. I mean, Michael Appleton will not be happy with that defending right at the end of the game, but a lot better from Lincoln City. To get some goals, to get some confidence. That second half performance was much, much better, and it looked a lot more like the Michael Appleton Lincoln side that we are familiar with. But again, they'll need wins. But if I look at the teams in that bottom half, there are a couple where you think I'm not particularly worried about them. Bolton's another one. I'm not worried about Bolton despite their defeat at Accrington yesterday, and I'm not particularly worried about Lincoln City or Cambridge for that matter. So. Just briefly on Bolton, it was a good performance actually. They probably deserved something from the match. Really disappointing goal that they conceded, but a shout out to Adam Senior who played really well. Youngster coming in for only a second start, hadn't played since a game between York and Gateshead, so he's been put in there and he's done really well. I have anyone who thinks that Bolton won't turn this around just needs to look at how they did last season. They've got players to come back from injury, and they'll improve in January like they did. So.
Were there more Bolton fans than Accrington fans?
I've got their attendances written down somewhere here actually. There was
4,546 was the attendance.
And 2,600 Bolton fans.
Wow.
Yeah. So there were more Bolton fans than Accrington, yeah.
Well, that contributed well on the pitch, didn't it? What does that matter? What does that matter?
Well, yeah, to be fair, right? 2,600 Bolton fans turn up, and I didn't see any toilets get smashed. So well done, Bolton fans. You're a credit to your club. But a disappointing result for Bolton yesterday because the manner of that goal, it was so poor, and they were creating chances. In fact, Bolton's XG from open play is top 4, so they will improve. I have no doubt about that. It's just a case of getting some players back, getting some finishing, and taking the chances that they're creating. Right, Rotherham. What can we say, Ed, about Rotherham? You were at the New York yesterday.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What do you make of it?
Fortunately,
they win the league.
You reckon?
I think they win the league. I think they'll pull clear. They were up against it for quite a lot yesterday, actually. Burton put up quite a bit of a fight, probably more than we were probably anticipating going into the game, but major defensive lapses, which have been key of our season, give Bolton the win, especially that third goal, which was a pass back, which I was expecting Garrett to take with his chest, and he caught it, and then you get an indirect free kick, and my record still continues. I've never seen an indirect kick in that situation not be scored. Dan Balassa scoring that one to make it 3-1. Burnham put up a bit of a fight, got an equaliser towards the end of the half, but you throw it away within minutes of the restart, and I don't think that was Rotherham at their best, and yet they still win. They're just still the best unit in the team in the league to me at the moment.
Well, what's it? 15 league games unbeaten, something like that.
20
In
unbeaten. In all competitions, it's 20. Yeah. I think it's 15 in the league. Yeah.
Yeah, crazy.
I
tend to look at the league for more than overall, simply because a lot of teams also chuck in the pizza trophy, and I'm not having that. You know.
Hey, we beat Sunderland in that. We're massive.
Oldham are going to Wembley. I don't know what you're on about.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, phenomenal side, Rotherham. I don't think anyone will catch them at the end of the season. I think they'll pull clear. Yeah. I go there and say that.
Massively impressed with them. Shrewsbury, not so impressed with this week. They lost to Doncaster yesterday. Big win for Doncaster last. It's difficult to lose to Doncaster. Though, to be fair, actually, midweek Oxford relied on James Henry goal right at the end to get us 3 points from there. They played quite well.
Dark horses Oxford relied on a late James Henry goal to get them there.
Delete. But yeah, Salop, their manager, talking about investing in hot water bottles and blankets for his players, and that they were very tired. So, they that's why they lost. I'm a bit worried about Salop under Steve Cotterill. I'll be honest. I mean, he plays basically. I mean, he's obviously going to rebalance this squad in January by signing another 3 left backs to add to the however many he's already got. I mean, yeah, masters of their own downfall. Shrewsbury in the situation they find them in, just because the recruitment was so poor in summer, and it's left them in a difficult spot. They do, let's be honest, they've done well in recent weeks to pick up some form, because they were really I couldn't see where a win was coming from in that spell, sort of very early in the season. It started with 4 straight defeats, if you remember. Then they picked up a few draws, and then they went on another sort of dodgy run. But the results at home, a draw with Sunderland, beaten Charlton, those seem really big right now, because losing to Wigan in a decent performance away from home, and then this one was really disappointing.
They can have Harry Chapman back in January. He's done nothing for Burton. They can have him back in exceptional form again.
There you go. Yeah, it's like their little cheat code, isn't it, Harry Chapman?
They can have him back from January.
But they've got Cheltenham next at home. Then they go to Fleetwood, and then have Accrington just before the turn of the year. So, yeah, interesting to see how they come out of those 3 games. But, yeah, a defeat at Doncaster for them yesterday. Wycombe and Wimbledon played out a 2-2 draw at Adams Park. Akinfenwa, 39 years old. Just
phenomenal lob.
That's the most Akinfenwa goal you'll see. He just holds him off and just thinks, I'm just going to loft it over him on the edge of the box.
Yeah, nearly scored another as well, didn't he, in the game. And Wycombe do what they always do. They get something from a game which they look like they've lost, and that's what they've been doing under Ainsworth for years. Really impressive. You know, until the final whistle goes against Wycombe, you're not safe. And Joe Jacobson taking the.
I've got to say, you do need a pillow going to Adams Park though, because that game goes flat, especially when they're winning towards the end of the game, and it just slows right down. Yeah,
credit to them. They've got the art of the game management down to an absolute mastery, haven't they?
It is. They do it very well.
I don't think any team does it better. And for Oxford's point of view, we need to be more clinical and take our chances if we're to really challenge. We're not very good at game management, generally speaking, and it's quite frustrating. So I won't begrudge Wycombe it, not at all. Portsmouth beat Morecambe 2-0. Danny Cowley's men on a great run of form. Marcus Harness, he is probably. I mean,
he's one of the best in the league. I'm going to go out there and say it.
He is, isn't he? There's not many better than him in this division at all.
He's the star in that Portsmouth team. The problem with Pompey, they're still a bit like Mansfield in League Two. Are we in danger of getting too carried away if we start praising them highly? Is there in danger that it just goes back the other way? Because that's how I feel like with them and Mansfield at the minute. Because we've no doubt talk about that in League Two.
Yeah, I'm going to make them my dark horse actually, just to deflect some attention away from.
I still think it's Oxford, but no, Portsmouth are going really well. Harness the star. This is what you want from them, really, isn't it? I know they're playing Morecambe, who, to be honest, they should be expected to beat, but they've hit a great run of form and have found themselves on the verge of those passports now.
Yeah, playing Morecambe, who had 4 centre-backs injured. Morecambe are in a bit of a difficult spot, but Portsmouth have won, 5 in 6, unbeaten in 8. That's it. That's much better form because they were on a terrible run before that. They're playing with a bit of gusto, a bit of style, a bit of confidence. I think Ronan Curtis has been excellent for them. Marcus Harness is superb, and they came up with the goals when they needed them. I thought Morecambe actually played quite well. Abika got 60 minutes into his legs, which is important. He's been out for 6 months, so that gives them just another option up front. Although, having seen him at Oxford, I know that he's not going to make massive impacts, but he will hold the ball up well. He'll give them someone else to relieve them from being under pressure and get the ball up the pitch, a bit of a target man. So that's important to see him back. But they do need to sort out their defensive problems. January coming up for them, so probably about the right time if those end up being sort of long term. Ipswich and Wigan 1-1. The final game to discuss. I mean, at the moment, John McGreal in temporary charge, a good result considering how poor they were in his previous game. What are we thinking about these teams, Chris? Wigan, obviously, very, very strong side. That's a good result for Ipswich.
That is a very good result, yeah, I think, given the context of the last few weeks, the change in management. I mean, just looking at the last 6 games, it's been really, mostly down, but up and down. 2 draws, 3 losses, 1 win. So I think actually to get a draw against Wigan, who, if it weren't for Rotherham's exceptional form, or another that in any other season would probably be top of the league, I think they can be at least content, but probably quite happy with that result.
Yeah, I mean, they must have a run of decent fixtures coming out, because, come on, they've played Oxford, Sunderland, Rotherham. They beat Crewe, in fairness, and Charlton and Wigan in the last 6 games. So, it's
been a bit horrible.
it's been a whole run. They got Sunderland up next as well.
They got a Gillingham on Boxing Day, so there's never right there.
It's a gimme.
Yeah. Sorry, David.
They got Barrow in the FA Cup, and then Sunderland, Gillingham. I think it's fair, yeah. We've got Wickham.
That Barrow game will be a tough one on a Tuesday night going up there. That will be.
It's a long old trip, and they struggled against Oldham, and that was a shorter trip.
Interesting to see how that one turns out. I think it's on TV, actually. So
yeah, the winner gets the mighty Barnsley away.
Barnsley? What?
I think so.
Oh, is it a replay this one?
It's a replay, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course it is. Yeah. Right. Yeah, exactly. It wasn't the best third round draw they could have asked for. No offence, Barnsley, but you want the incentive, don't you, of a massive, massive club. Bit disappointed with the not going off on a tangent, but the TV games are rubbish. I mean, I knew it'd be Man U Villa. Everyone knows it's going to be Man U Villa.
To be honest, we expected it, really. We know it's disappointing every time.
Steven Gerrard going up against Manchester United once again.
Yawn.
He does the same thing the following week, doesn't he?
Yeah, probably.
They'll put out their reserves in this one, and it'll be on TV. When Kidderminster v Reading would have been a much more interesting game. Yeah. Much more interesting from an FA Cup and historical standpoint. I wanted to see Cambridge v Newcastle as well.
There's some cracking sides that are just...
Morecambe at Tottenham.
I still can't believe Fulham wasn't on TV a couple of years ago. Still not over that.
That's rubbish. Just really annoying.
They've got really bad with it, actually, in the last couple of years. They used to be pretty good. BBC and ITV would actually generally pick the good ties. And just the last 2-3 years in particular, they've been really crap at picking them.
They go on about the magic of the cup in these early rounds, and then the big boys come in, they just change their minds. Like, they picked Hull v Everton. What's magic about Hull v Everton?
West Ham Leeds. I mean, that's a bit of a...
I get that one a bit more, but Hull Everton, why on earth does that want to be?
I don't understand that, because that sort of game's on TV every week. There's always a West Ham game on or something. There's always a Premier League.
It's just simply because the Premier League ties are going to bring in more money. They don't necessarily care about the magic.
They care more about the ratings, and it should be cared about the ratings. They should care about the excitement, get some variety in there, but they just want as many people as they can.
The BBC could do one, frankly. They take a fee off me every month. I pay a direct debit fee for my licence fee. So don't talk to me about ratings. I'm paying you to give me the best matches in the FA Cup based on the fact that this is a historical competition where anyone can beat anyone, and they just
took the words out of my mouth. It holds, that argument holds water for ITV. It doesn't hold water for the BBC.
I can't disagree with you there, but
supposedly should be providing a wide range of viewing that's not commercialised.
Yeah, utterly disappointing. Anyway, I could go on all week about this. Let's look at the league table, where Rotherham are top of the pile, 2 points clear of Wigan, though they're having played one game more. Wigan obviously second then. Sunderland level on points, but have played a game more than them. Goal difference slightly less, not too bad. I think it's about six below Wigan's in terms of the GD, so that's not bad though. Sunderland third, Wycombe fourth, Oxford fifth, Plymouth sixth, and then Sheffield Wednesday, Portsmouth, MK Dons. Those teams sort of just on the cusp, and then there's a big 5-point gap between MK Dons and Accrington, as I think the cream is starting to float to the top. Although Ipswich will want to be quickly rectifying that if their ambitious plans of getting promoted this season are to hold any water. Crewe are bottom, Doncaster second bottom, Gillingham now third from bottom and sinking fast. Morecambe have dropped into the bottom four, with Fleetwood winning to jump up to 19th, leaving Shrewsbury sandwiched in the middle. That point leaves Lincoln 18th. Still closer, 3 points above the drop zone. Right, let's jump down into League Two.
League Two.
Well, only one place to start, Chris, Boundary Park, where no one was there to watch it, but it was...
What do you mean it was a sellout crowd, according to the official figures?
I honestly find it so funny that you were protesting against the owners about how bad football has become, how bad the football is, how bad things are as a club, and the game you miss is a 5-5 draw with the league leaders.
I will slightly defend it. It's not a protest against how bad the football is, it's a protest about how bad the ownership is.
Well, that contributes to how bad the football supposedly is and how downward things are going, but it's just... It's quite funny how it's ended up happening.
What a game.
Yeah, ridiculous. I'll give Salim Benachour his credit. Since he's come in, they have looked better going forward. He can't hold a defensive shape for monkeys, can he? I mean,
I've only watched him under that Salford match, which was one of the probably the worst football match I've ever seen.
I mean, he was the under-18s coach, right?
Yeah.
This is the kind of scoreline you get in under-18 games where they just go all-out attack and don't defend. So maybe we'll get more of this coming up.
Well, I mean, he's got
under-18
Hope
football
scoring,
which...
Well, if you can get Hope scoring, give him the job.
Keeler done with a brace in this one. His first one was
apparently he's the only player that scored in the first half for Oldham.
Yeah.
This season, and there's only been 3 of them.
I believe that.
It's mad.
Mad, isn't it? Absolutely mad.
He is turning into a very good player, though.
Despite his own goal, Kane Wilson was superb in this, as was Nicky Cannon. Just unbelievable. To be 4-1 down.
I liked Rob Edwards' comments, which was sort of saying, "I have no idea what just happened."
He called it, "That's a real freak result after what was a real freak game. Credit to Oldham, they never gave in, and I really don't know where that comeback has come from."
I don't think anyone does, because we were 4-1 down.
Yeah, and then it's 5-3 with 20 minutes to go, something like that?
Yeah, and then suddenly it was 5-5.
I think I was WhatsApping you, wasn't I, saying,
I was out shopping, getting the last few bits for my field work.
I was mentioning to you, it's like 4-1, your team are doing rubbish, and then next minute I look, it's 5-0. I was like, what?
Yeah, it's only Oldham.
Yes, well, I did say that. Only Oldham can score 5 at home and not win. I mean, it's just such an Oldham thing to do. I mean,
it's very Oldham.
Forest Green fans are saying only Forest Green can score 5 away and not win. They are a very good team. Come on, don't try and play that one on me.
I think this is the other amazing thing is that we've done this against top of the league. I know some Oldham fans were sort of saying, well, we should be beating Forest Green. But, I mean, that's slight arrogance based on historical stature. They are a very good team, and they are
A quarter of the goals they've conceded so far this season have come in this one game.
Yeah,
I know.
That's nuts.
That's a ridiculous
I love that stat.
ridiculous, isn't it? Utterly ridiculous. But credit to Oldham for the performance, and I think the subs that Salim put in did make an impact because he played. He went back to a back three to match up, I think, with Forest Green in this one, and
he's basically mirrored the formation. I think we've had sort of
it's like a 3-4-2
strikers behind
Luamba back in the lineup. I was a bit surprised at the starting lineup for Oldham in many ways, but
I predicted I'd do this prediction league with Oldham fans, and I predicted we'd lose 3-1. And I looked at the score at half time, and I was like, oh, well, I might get a few points, and then finish 5-5. I was like, well, I was well off.
Yeah, absolutely. But Jamil Matt and Matty Stevens, superb players, both getting goals in this one. Another brace for Matty Stevens. Just fantastic, those two. They've been at it all season. Aitchiston's come in and really made that position his own. Sort of playing as a number 10, which Ebel Adams was playing there last season. He's come in and he's been brilliant. Versatile forward. Superb performance again from him. But yeah, 5-5. Live long in the memory for those who actually went to watch it, which weren't very many. Leyton Orient 1, Crawley 2. For me, this is the result of the day, given Crawley had something like 13 players out injured. But yeah, they've come through it against a very, bearing in mind Leyton Orient scored 4 goals in both their last 2 home games against decent opponents. Crawley getting a 2-1 win. I thought Frankham did really well, moved back up into midfield in this game and getting on the score sheet. His versatility has been extremely, extremely useful for Crawley. Nearly 400 Crawley fans in the away end here, which, for the size of their club, that's a really good day out. And Ed Kwesi Appiah, he's in a rich vein of form, isn't he? I mean, a player that didn't arrive or didn't seem to arrive until sort of late in the season, and he's come in and been a bit of a revelation for Crawley.
He has hit better form, although most of his goals I don't think could be contributing to that positive result so far. So, yeah, it's kind of, I don't know what to make of this really. Like Crawley, great win, undoubtedly. Does it really change my thoughts on them? No, I think they're still quite a mediocre side, to be honest, the bottom half side. And Orient, it kind of sums up that despite the immense amount of quality, as we've talked about before, in their attacking areas, these inconsistent results are what are keeping them out of those top places at the moment.
Interestingly enough, they scored a goal without having a shot on target, according to the stats in this one. So, yeah, that's one of those weird...
Well, that was just a horrific error from Glenn Morris, wasn't it?
Yes, who's actually, to be fair to him, been so reliable that I will not have a go at him. He is such a reliable player. But in fairness, like I liked John Yem's comment about Francelet, their defender. Ludwig Francelet, he said, he's like Bambi on acid.
Bambi on acid.
Bambi on acid.
I've never heard that one before.
Yeah.
That's not something I expect to come out of his mouth.
I think that's just a baby deer.
What?
No, it's not.
What?
It's not.
No. In the sense, like, baby deers are just jumpy and crazy anyway. Like, I don't understand why they would also
on acid. Stop it.
I don't often see deers. I mean, I did live on the edge of a wood growing up. I didn't see
I don't
many
think I've ever
acid
seen
dealers.
deers on acid. No,
No,
I can't say I've seen that either.
Obviously, I'm not saying that the deers themselves are on... Do you know what?
Where are we going with this?
Nowhere now. Let's swiftly moving on.
Are you sure you've got no acid dealers in Chatham area, mate?
I need some Gillian season.
Can you just get that clip and put it out without any context on Twitter?
Please don't.
Please do.
I could do indeed. But anyway, result of the day, Crawley beating Leyton Orient.
I think we had the podcast title, Bambi on acid.
I'm still laughing because I wasn't sure what you were saying. Like, did you think Bambi was the name for baby deers? Was the Bambi on acid?
No. Like, baby deers are just so excitable that you could mistake one for being on acid anyway.
I don't think I'd ever mistake
I don't know what people do when they're on acid. I can't say I know.
Frankly, if I saw, any animal offspring, I would not assume at any point that they've been on some sort of hard drug. I think, it's just take it as read that they are just acting like they would normally. Anyway, let's move on before this podcast has to hire David Attenborough.
We're so professional.
Newport County, they beat Port Vale 2-1. Port Vale, who have Ben Garrity in a rich vein of scoring form because they have no other strikers, essentially.
Yeah.
Dom Telford scoring another one in this one. Ollie Cooper, a player that goes under the radar a little bit for Newport. I think he's got like 6 or 7 assists in League Two this season.
Sorry, I've just finished laughing at the acid comment and realised that Ben Garrity was indeed a striker.
Yeah, he did. He's been playing striker the last couple of matches. He scored 2 in his first game up front.
Am I on acid?
That's a personal question. Only you can answer.
Ben Garrity was up front.
Well, they haven't got Proctor, they haven't got Wilson, they haven't got Amu, and they haven't got George Lloyd either. So they're all injured. So they're playing a winger and a central midfielder as their main attacking players. It was a tough afternoon, to be honest, for Port Vale. Darryl Clark saying they were nowhere near the standards that they set, and they were hanging on a little bit. And to be fair, it's difficult when you don't have your key players at the top end of the pitch because the ball will come back to you. And as much as Garrity has done well to score goals, you don't want to go to Rodney Parade and have to sort of patch it up. It's a very, very difficult place to go. James Rowberry's side, really good. He said, in fairness as well, it was a travesty to go in 1-0 behind off their one shot on goal. But he over the moon with the win, to quote him, and a very big result for Newport County. A shocking result for me is Bristol Rovers actually finding some form. Aaron Collins becoming the player that we thought he would when he signed for them this summer. A 4-2 win over Rochdale, who continued to do, like we said last week, create a lot of chances, score some goals, but defensively far too open. That was the case again yesterday. Joey Barton obviously acquitted in court of the assault charge against Daniel Stendhal. And I don't know, does this give them a new lease of life somewhat to get that distraction, that monkey off his back, and allow them now to just concentrate on what he's doing on the pitch, which has been pretty average until recently?
We'll have the answer to that about a month from now, I reckon, James.
You'll
probably find out. Did you see his I saw this hilarious
He's
video.
the manager of the only good club in the league, right?
Yeah, he made these comments. I think it was in the pre-match either.
I did read
before this game or after the previous one, where he mentioned that there are no good teams in League Two, saying that any good teams are in the Premier League or the Champions League or the Championship. They're okay teams down here, and I kind of get what he's saying, but he follows it up a bit later in his interview by saying that Port Vale are a good side.
Yeah, it's a stupid comment because it's all relative, isn't it? It's all relative. You don't sit there going, well, Bristol Rovers aren't a good team because they're not Manchester United or Arsenal. Well, no, that's the stupid comparison. You look at your peers around you to compare how good you are. So you'd say Forest Green are a very good side because they're top of the league and they play good football compared to other people in this league. You would say Forest Green are a really bad side because if they played Arsenal away, they'd probably lose. I mean, that's not how football works. You don't compare yourself. I'm sure Maidenhead don't sit there comparing themselves to Juventus and saying, we're pretty shit, aren't we?
I'll have you know, Maidenhead will get the better of Juventus. That's a well-known fact.
Yeah, well, they're similar colours.
Exactly.
But anyway, my point is you don't compare yourself to teams further up the pyramid to get a context of how good your side are. You compare yourself to those teams in your division.
It's just Barton being Barton.
That's why you have a league table, Joey. So you can tell how good you are compared to everyone in your division. Anyway, before we go off on a complete tangent, it was a good result yesterday.
I'm just imagining you patting on the head saying, that's why we have a league table, Joey.
Well done, Joey. Well done.
For any new listeners to the podcast, we promise it's not like this every single week.
No, it is.
Don't
It
lie,
is
don't
like
lie.
this. It's
Don't
Fabio
lie.
on ice every single weekend. Fabio on acid, sorry.
Yeah, crazy.
I think the title could even be D3D4 on acid at this point.
Oh dear. Anyway, good performance from Bristol Rovers in terms of I thought they'd mucked this one up when they allowed Dale back into it. But in fairness, they have got. I think Samphony is out for 3 games after being sent off for violent conduct. They had Harry sent off being the last man, so they were missing him as well. Hull came in at the centre back to play alongside Taylor and Anderton. Mark Hughes, I don't think, has played a game this season for them, who I thought would be a good player. a good experienced centre back at this level, but he's been injured for so long. And obviously, there's still Belshaw's done well in goal, despite Jarkala. I think if he's fit, is probably going to be one of the best goalkeepers in League Two for sure. And Coots and Whelan are, experienced midfielders who marshal the game quite well. Anthony Evans has been a revelation since joining.
Yeah.
Nicholson is in good form again. They don't have the archetypal number 9 that you'd look at. They just literally they don't have a player wearing number 9 on the pitch most weeks. It's just it is what it is. Injuries and that have really cost them. But on the other hand, they're getting some results, they're getting some wins, and they're playing. They've got a pretty set system now. Obviously, their promotion push is well behind where it should be, but a good run.
You want to see them kick on from this, really, don't you?
Yeah, a good run will do that for you in this division. There's no one who you'd say is completely out of that running if you look at the top half of the table, or even just dropping down a little bit into the bottom half. So yeah, Harrogate lost to Northampton, who are relentless at the moment. Northampton, a 2-1 win. Been very impressed with a lot of their players. Just generally speaking, a good side overall. A 2-1 is at Harrogate. It's not an easy place to go. It's another win on the road for them. They've been pretty impressive.
They just grind out wins, and I love that their goals. You almost can rely on one of their centre backs or both of them to get a goal every game.
Yeah.
Guthrie and Horsfall, they're in fantastic scoring form. They just grind out results, Northampton. It's going to do them really well.
Their set pieces are superb as well. If you're good at set pieces in a division like League Two, then
yeah, it worked really well for them 2 years ago when they got up into curl.
Yeah,
and it's doing it again.
Absolutely, great result for them. Very impressed with John Brady this season, how he's marshalled this team, and they don't have a huge squad either. You look at some of the problems that they have when players are out, like Williams in midfield. They've often had to put Flores in there. They went back to a 4-4-2. They've often been playing a 4-4-1-1, but they went back to a 4-4-2 yesterday. Kabamba playing up front with Rose. Kabamba has been not very good, if I'm honest, since coming in. Quite disappointed with his performance.
The only striker out there that's really impressed me is their young Keon Atete on London Tottenham. But there's goals elsewhere, and that gets you a long way in this league.
Well, Hoskins is excellent. Pinnock has got loads of assists and is quite a creative outlet on that left-hand side. Koike's done really well since Mills' injury, filling in at left back, and obviously the centre backs are really important at this level of football, and they've both been really good.
I think Jack Selby goes a little under the radar as well in midfield.
Yeah, he does. And I think they missed him early in the season when he was injured. He's really made that position his own since coming back in. So Carlisle won away from home, guys. 2-0. I do them a discredit there. 2-0 away from home against a Stevenage side who are yet to win under Paul Tisdale. Rode their luck at times, definitely, especially in the first half. But they come out with a victory. John Mellish back on the score sheet. Gibson with a penalty, and vital, Ed, for Carlisle, who hadn't won away from home since August.
Since August.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, huge win.
Against Swindon, who are crap at home, funnily enough.
There you go then. Yeah, huge win. Really big for them.
Takeover has officially collapsed as well this week.
Yeah, I saw that. That's disappointing.
That doesn't change, does it? It's still the same to them. They're still in that wait for something to happen.
It's just difficult. I just don't see how it will change, to be honest.
They just need some sort of investment, and it's just not happening.
It's difficult. There's a lot of challenges for Carlisle. Many of them, we don't want to go over them again because everyone knows, difficult location and weather, but yeah, it's let's just give them credit for going away from home to a team that is down there with them and getting a clean sheet and a win. You've got to be happy with that. And clean sheets are easier to come by under Keith Millen than they were under Chris Beach, to be fair. It's just been goals. Carlisle's goals have been next to non-existent. I think they've only scored, was it 15 in the league? The lowest in the league, 15.
Lowest in the league.
Colchester have got 16, and Stevenage have also, and Stevenage and Scunthorpe have also got 16. So yeah, that's their problem. They need to score more goals. It sounds obvious, score more goals and you'll be a better team, but it has been a huge problem for them because defensively, are they a disaster? No, they're not. They're not great, but they're not Oldham. So
thanks.
That's true. And that is something that you'd be a bit worried about, and look to rectify if you can in January, but easier said than done. Great result for them nonetheless. Barrow, a great result for them. Both Cumbrian sides picking up identical results. Obviously, Barrow at home, a 2-0 win over Swindon. 2 penalties in this one. I don't think there's any doubt that they were both penalties. And it's again, Swindon's away form. They lost to Leyton Orient. Now they've lost to Barrow, and they're slipping a little bit in the league. 3 games without win now for them. Again, though, not too worried about Swindon. I think huge credit here to the 577 fans that made this 5-hour round trip. The most of any team, the most away fans any team took it to any game this weekend in League Two. So huge credit to them. Ed, Walsall 3, Colchester 0. I wasn't that surprised that Walsall won this, but I have to say, without Joss Labadie, without Conor Wilkinson, and without Manny Wanth, that's a really good result.
Yeah, you're going to have to wait a little bit longer before you can give them the tag you want to give them.
I'm not giving them any tag.
I know how much you love Walsall.
This is a mistake.
I know how much you love them. No, that's a very good result, and it's just Colchester just uninspiring again this season. Just a poor side. It's a real shame.
What is it that you think Colchester need? Because Freddie Sears has been quite productive. He scored 8 goals or something this season, but it has been the top end of the pitch for me, where I just really find them so frustrating.
Yeah, I feel like there's not much creativity in goals, which is weird to say because I kind of had high hopes that Alan Judge could contribute quite a lot in that.
He's not been fit though, really, has he? Played the last couple of games. He set up. They won. Was it an EFL Trophy game they won against Swindon? Or was it an FA Cup game? I can't remember now. But they beat Swindon in a game where he got 2 assists, both set pieces, and they were very good set pieces. And that's something that he can bring to the table. But he's not the player he was. I think age is catching up, and his body is not doing what he wants it to do. And that's a bit of a worry for Colchester. And it's always been up top for them, where we're just not convinced. They went into the season, I think, with Frank Nouble as their main striker, even though he really isn't that kind of out-and-out striker and hasn't often been in his career. So that's the place they need to improve most. But not to take anything away from Walsall. A 3-0 win. Walsall have been very inconsistent in a lot of their games this season. And I think with the 3 key players that they had missing, it made it all more impressive. And Otis Khan is an enigma of a player, isn't he? Because do you remember when he was at Yeovil and we were all like, this guy's going places? He just hasn't lived up to it, and he's hopefully under Matt Taylor he will find the sort of form that put him in as one of the most prominent players at this level a few years ago. But yes, I'm not giving Walsall any tags, by the way. They're just a good
He
team.
wants to.
Exeter City.
He's told me he wants to.
I don't speak to Ed off here because he keeps. If I speak to him, he'll keep trying to give Oxford tags that I don't want him to. So
Dark off.
We'll give him that.
Shush. Who said that? Block. Exeter 0, Tranmere 1. Ed, Exeter. It's a tricky run they're on for sure. No doubt. Sam Nombe injured. They had Alex Hartridge and Pierce Sweeney go off with knee injuries yesterday. Not what you want to see if you're an Exeter City fan. 1-0 home defeat.
They've just had 2 home games against 2 of the most defensive records in the league in Northampton and Tranmere. Even if Northampton, you'd probably say, is probably more sustainable over the long term than Tranmere, especially considering what Tranmere was absolutely ridiculous at the start of the season. There's kind of come to be more what you expect now, but still very good. So yeah, it's not great.
I would say this though, Elliot Nevitt obviously getting that new contract is a very positive thing for Tranmere because I think he's progressing really well. Nice finish yesterday. Credit to all those Tranmere fans who came such a long way from home to watch their side, and they defended manfully. They've had Tranmere have been Exeter. You look at them, they've had 4 games now without a win, lost 3 out of 4. It's not a great look. It's not a great run. They've picked up some key injuries. But Tranmere's 3rd win on the bounce. They've only conceded 1 in that time, and 2 of those have been away from home. It's looking a lot better. It's looking a lot better. He tweaked it as well, Mickey Mellon, because I think he realised, I can't. Before this they've gone 5 without a win, and he's changed the lineup a bit. He's given some young players a chance in Jolly. I think who again was a young player that hadn't really played a lot of football this season, but he gets an opportunity and comes in and does superbly. Charlie Jolly played 82 minutes yesterday. Worked hard with Nevitt up front. Hawks, again, a versatile player. Spearing, Foley, Morris, they're all experienced players. I think Tranmere are a side that if they can add more goals, again, they're another one of these sides. I always say add more goals to your team, and you're not far off because defensively they're pretty solid. So
Yeah.
Again, Tranmere Rovers, great result from yesterday on the road. Mansfield beating Salford. Mansfield are on great form, guys.
Can we do it?
I don't know, Dave. Do you want to look at this one? I mean, you may not be aware, but on this podcast, it's a perennial thing to give Mansfield a tag of promotion hopefuls and favourites because of their budget and stuff, and they always disappoint. But they've just found some form of late, which is unusual for them, really. Let's be honest. Nigel Clough turning it around after something like 14 games without a win. They've done terrifically well to win sort of 6 of the last 7.
Yeah, I mean, they look, excuse me, they look like they're in really good form, but I don't know whether it's worth giving that tag yet. I mean, it's very, very tight around those playoff places in League Two at the moment, isn't it? Like, I know we're still very early on, but when you look at the other teams that are around them and the form they're on, I'm not quite sure right now a tag like that could be popped on them.
I want to do it. We should be allowed to have confidence in Mansfield Town, James.
We should be.
Dark horses.
We should be allowed to. We should be allowed to do it.
We should be.
I'd rather we overestimate them than underestimate them.
Why? Because of the comedy when they inevitably...
I'm out of Wi-Fi contact for several months, so I'm going to say it. They're promotion hopefuls.
Promotion hopefuls. Indeed, Mansfield Town promotion hopefuls, officially named by Chris String on this podcast. I mean, he's off to Antarctica, so he gets to bloody away with it.
It's up on the other side of the world.
Yeah.
You'll have to send us your postal address because we're going to have to get airmail from your hate airmail sent out to you now from Mansfield fans.
I genuinely have no idea how you would get mail there. So, you know what? If you can find a way to get mail there, more power to you.
Don't the Royal Mail have like a squad of albatrosses that deliver that sort of thing?
Penguin Army?
I think the nearest post office is South Georgia, which is a good few hundred miles north.
Ridiculous. I hope you enjoy your trip. Honestly, it's going to be at least being an Oldham fan, you're used to cold places. So
I have made this comment several times, but I genuinely think it's true. I've got so many thick socks.
Yeah, you'll be prepared for the Antarctic winter. Well, it's summer there, isn't it? Antarctic now, yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, summer is a very loose phrase when you're that.
The sun's up for 4 hours a day rather than 3. Is that what you mean?
Well, no, the sun's up basically it's 19 hours plus a few hours twilight. But it'll be wind chill around -10 is what I've been told.
Oh.
Ah, wow, that's not that bad.
It got to 18 degrees on the neighbouring island a couple of years ago.
That's pretty impressive, actually.
That's all right, then.
That was the record for Antarctica. But it is actually. It's usually several degrees further south.
Yeah, global warming just has some plus sides, I suppose, if you're living down that far south. But anyway, yes, Chris has just made Mansfield his dark horse team, and he's now scooting off as far away as you can go from any.
Okay, so we've got Mansfield as our dark horses in League Two, and
I'm
Oxford,
muting you before you say
Oxford,
anything.
Yes.
League One.
Up the yellows.
God,
Come on, you yellows.
Up the U's.
Cheers, John. Yeah, cheers, guys. You've ruined my season. But yeah, no, an important win for them, and I think against Salford as well. Who, let's be honest, Salford are just so average.
Mediocre.
Yeah,
Mediocre.
compared to what they should be.
They beat us the other week, but they were terrible.
They were.
They pick up a win every now and then where you look at them and think, yeah, you should be doing that. Go and carry on, go and take it to another level, and they don't.
They've not sacked their manager yet.
Yeah, I am pretty shocked they haven't, actually. But Mansfield Town, really good. I mean, if you told them in sort of mid-October that they'd be 4 points from the playoffs by sort of mid-December, they'd have bitten your hand off. They'd have thought you're lying, frankly. They'd have said, no, shut up. You're stupid, you don't know what you're talking about. But they are. They're right up there again now. Which is a huge credit to Nigel Clough and his backroom team for getting that team turned around, getting them moving up the table, playing playing decent football. Defensively, a little better because they were so poor defensively that they were just, all
I think the
over.
lack of options played a part in that, to be honest. Losing so many to suspensions and injuries.
It was for sure. Bradford and Sutton 2-2 draw. Sutton, who I was intrigued to see what team they could put out because they've had they're in the midst of a massive injury crisis. But they, that's a good result away from home for them, considering the problems that they faced over the last few games. Bradford as well, missing some key players, but again, Bradford's it's just been disappointing, hasn't it? And talk about the double jeopardy very quickly before we go. I think he deserved the red card personally. Clean through, stopped his man. What can you say? The only other result, which I'm not going to linger on because it was really not a great game, was Hartlepool 0, Scunthorpe United 0. But still, Graham Lee remains unbeaten as manager of Hartlepool, so doing good stuff. Top of the table, Forest Green then 44 points, 4 points clear, and a game less than Northampton, who are second, Port Vale third, Newport, Exeter, Sutton, and Swindon in the top.
That promotion race is really, really good.
It is, isn't it? And because you've got Tranmere, Leyton Orient, Harrogate, Mansfield, Walsall now, all sort of outside it and all trending in the right direction, which makes it interesting to see how Bristol Rovers do to try and get into that chasing pack as Bradford and Hartlepool have sort of been in.
There are actually a lot of teams that you could reasonably say are in contention.
Yep.
So many teams.
There are indeed. Scunthorpe, bottom, Oldham, also bottom. Essentially, but second bottom by virtue of goal difference. And then you've got Stevenage and Carlisle and Colchester. No surprises about any teams at the moment in that bottom group. That win for Barrow has helped them no end. They've on 22 points now. Right, thank you for listening, guys. It's been brilliant. Ed, Dave, Chris, superb as always. Chris, all I'd like to say is enjoy this experience, mate. It sounds like it's going to be a once in a lifetime opportunity. So,
yes. Thank you very much, and I'll be back in March.
Bring me some ice or a drink, please, when you come back as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
There's no other way to get it, Chris.
We'll be thinking of you and crapping on Oldham at the same time.
Excellent.
Of course. Yeah, absolutely. Right, well, that's it. See you soon, guys. We'll be back next week. Until then, it's goodbye.